Okay, welcome back everyone to Walk Like a Mailman. These are your hosts, Griffin. Say hello, Griffin.
Hey, how you guys doing?
And I am Jeffro. Um, so this is a good show that we've been doing for quite some time here. Just kidding. But I'm sure you can tell that we're so good at this, and everyone thinks that, hey, no way that we just started this and this is the first time we're doing it. So
Well, hey, at least it's not the first time that we're talking to each other, right?
yes, we are friends. Stop me if you heard this before. Two friends are hanging out, talking, and thinking, "Hey, we should do a podcast together." So, but yes, we do suck, and we are currently in the process of learning. So just come along with us on this adventure, and um, just please bear with us
Go with the flow. You're on the lazy river. Just let the river take you where it's gonna take you.
and pee in that lazy river as much as you can. So I swear on everything that is holy, that I was gonna flake on this first recording. I swear to you, I was.
I kind of had a feeling that you might,
Yeah,
and I
I
would have been
am.
mad because I like changed my whole day's schedule around so that I
Yeah,
could be here to do this versus going to the gym, working out in the morning and being
yeah,
tired and watching The Sopranos.
yeah. I don't know if you can tell, but I am a little under the weather as we speak, and I'm sure people listening to this is like, oh yeah, I kind of think that this guy's voice kind of sucks, but
I
not that
kind of
you
thought
have
this is what you normally sound like, though.
yeah, not that you have anything to really compare this to, but it will get better, hopefully. Maybe minorly, a very small percentage, but hopefully it will get better.
Well, hopefully everything is fine. It's just a minor frog in your throat.
Yes.
No worse than having to be out there playing football yesterday.
Yeah, it was a -7 with a wind chill of -27 in Kansas City
Something
yesterday.
something ridiculous to the point where people were showing images of Andy Reid looking like a walrus.
Yes, well, that's him on an average
Well,
Tuesday.
I mean, like with the stalagmites and stuff on his beard being frozen, his mustache, and just
Yes.
that's
But
what I saw anyway.
yeah, this is like my Jordan flu game, right? My very first one, though. Imagine if Jordan's very first game, like as a rookie year, if that was like his flu game, right? But I guess like that's what makes it a flu game is because it has to be like high stakes, right?
I suppose, yeah. I mean,
Yeah. It was like a playoff game in the
this
finals.
is literally the lowest of low stakes possible. I mean, we could just re-record this in an hour.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that exactly. That's why it's not a flu game. But that's what I kind of feel like. I like if I got the flu and I could step up, like that's what you do to like get yourself hyped up, you know. So,
I
but
always think of like Paul Pierce being wheelchaired off, but it just turned out he really
yeah,
needed to go to the
exactly.
bathroom instead of actually
Yeah.
having anything
Well, I
wrong
mean,
with
like there's like a conspiracy theories that like I think it's the Supersonics in the finals. If you like Google it, like Jordan's like flu game. I think it was the
him.
Sonics
No,
in the
Jordan's
finals.
flu game was against the Jazz.
There we go. See, and like I guess like, there's a
I don't remember which
conspiracy.
which uh which one it was against the Jazz,
Yeah,
but I thought it was against the Jazz.
and they like sent a pizza to his hotel room, and supposedly they did something to it. That's like I guess the conspiracy. But I digress. So welcome to my first tangent there. uh,
Well, what are we supposed to be talking about right now?
well, we are supposed to be talking about being a mailman of some sort. But that really wasn't why I wanted or why we wanted to like, start this show. The thing is I myself, as being, a mail carrier, I have definitely like spent countless hours and I mean a great deal of mail carriers listen to podcasts while they're delivering mail. They listen to Audible books. They listen to um, like music, obviously. So there's like a wide assortment. And at one time, I like, kind of just like looked through the library and was like trying to find something that was for mail carriers, but wasn't like, like just roughly exactly tied onto being a mail carrier, if that makes any sense. It was like something that was mail carrier adjacent, that was for mail carriers, but not necessarily like that's just all the content. Like we're just going to talk about the mail carrying journal NALC and the postmaster
We're just gonna
general.
have fun talking about regular stuff and life as a postman, right?
Yeah, and just
Mailman, postman.
yeah, and show like mail carrier adjacent and parallels, like how you see things through like a lens of a mail carrier. So,
And I am
but
not a mail carrier, by the way.
yes.
So I come in with the layman's perspective because whenever I think of the mail, I just think of postal carrier Newman from Seinfeld and all of the shenanigans there. And we all know that's an accurate representation of the post office. Am I right?
And no, and most, I would say, that's when you are like a mail carrier. I'm pretty sure that's just the way it is with any kind of employment or any kind of specialized uh career. When you see things on like the big screen or like television, and you like kind of like go, oh, like that's funny that you see that, and that they get things right, or that they like, oh, that would never happen. And we'll put a pin in that. I actually have something on something of that nature, as far as characters and roles they play on television and movies,
All
as
right.
far
Well,
as like mail carriers.
let's get back to it. What do you want to talk about today about the Postal Service, about being a mailman?
Yeah. Okay. So just in general, just to like start it off as like an introductory like scenario, being a mail carrier, it like opens your eyes up to like a completely different world that you would never have thought of, like as being, you know what would go into this job. You think, when you see like a mailman just walking down the street. And by the way, I say mailman, and I know that's kind of like, it was a pejorative term. I don't mean that as like a specific genderized role where it's like an actual male man. Like if I'm talking in reference to a male woman, I will even say male woman. Um, 99% of the time, I try to use the actual like generic term male carrier. Please don't send us emails. Uh,
Well, we're not
you know,
posting up an email address for you guys to send all your hate mail to anyway, so
well, yet
not
that will be
yet,
coming,
yet.
as
Okay. So I
as
guess
I've
save
said
it for
before.
later is the
Yes,
appropriate thing.
yes,
Save your anger for later because we'll give you a place
yes,
to put it.
yes. And you can send us hate mail. I love reading hate mail because then it makes me stronger. I drink a gallon of Haterade every morning. Um, but once again, you see like a mail carrier like walking down the street in your neighborhood, or like delivering to a CBU.
What the heck's a CBU, dude? I don't know what that
Oh,
means.
a CBU is like kind of like uh once again, I don't know the exact acronyms, and
Is that
welcome.
like the box that like has 15 or 16 mailboxes and I have like my one unit out of there and I go get my mail from in my
Yeah,
neighborhood?
so CBU, I'll use that term. And like welcome to a federal government entity. There's like 9,000 plus a million plus infinite like different acronyms for like different things. I don't know the exact like wording for like what a CBU is. I think it's a cluster box unit. All I know is we call it CBU, and it's a place where it's like a centralized location, to where like if you have like 10 different houses and they all can go get mail at one place. It's very popular in apartments, as opposed to going to every single apartment in like 100 apartment
Oh,
complex
so
or
it's
like
like even bigger than the ones that I'm talking about at like my place. 'Cause my
no,
place will have
there's
like a box of maybe 10 or 15, but you're talking about it's gonna have like 50 or 100.
different types.
Okay.
There is like some that only have like, five to like six. But CPU is just a generic term for like a centralized location for mail, for like delivery points. So like it means that like either many apartments or many houses are going to get their mail from this one location, and it's generally a big box, and we have a special only like mail carriers can open it type key, and we open up the boxes and we deliver mail to all the different boxes, and all the individual slots are for the residents of all the different like houses or apartments, or in my case I have a CBU is in our condos. So but you see the mail carriers and they're doing this, and you think that they just like have a happy-go-lucky, they just go from neighborhood to neighborhood, and they're just like they maybe like delivered to like two streets, and they're just like wandering around, and they don't really have a care in the world. um it is not like that. The amount of like, and I always tell people, like especially like new employees, I've done training with new employees, um it's never ever the like workload, it's the time restraint, and it's the volume. It's an easy job. You're literally just going from house to house putting pieces of paper in a box. I'm not trying to glorify what it is that we do, um but the amount of like volume that we do, like you're literally covering like like a quarter mile to like a half mile of all the houses that are in that area. And you have to do all of that within like 6 hours, not including breaks and lunches. So it's definitely more consuming that than I had first thought when I like
So like
decided
how
to be a
many
mail carrier.
pieces of mail do you think you would deliver on a daily basis?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that. Okay, so speaking of acronyms, there's like I think six different parts. When we come in the morning, there's like six different parts of stuff we need to gather up before we load it into our piece of crap car and get
I
it
don't
out
think
to the
that's
street.
the technical term for it.
What, the car?
No, no, piece of crap car. I don't think it's a technical term for the
Yeah,
postal
the
vehicle.
the actual like tradition. Yes, welcome to the PCC, piece of crap car. No, the actual like traditional, what people like think of in their head as far as like the mail truck. It's like the little boxy looking thing, and they've even come up with like a new like more energy efficient one, which are like funny to look at if you ever have a moment. Google those. Um, but like the old traditional boxy things, those are called LLVs or CRVs. I don't know what the CRV stands for. Those are usually just bigger versions of the boxy trucks, but I do know what this is. Bingo. LLV stands for long life vehicle, and they're pretty much like Chevy S10s, like 1995, like engines in these things, and they've been like on the street and like back into the repair shop and back onto the street for like 30-40 years now. It's insane, like the amount of like like budget that they put into these things.
They're still using stuff from like the 90s and the
Yes, absolutely.
wow.
Absolutely. But as time has proceeded, and especially like routes, especially in residential areas, have had packages. Packages are like the new thing that keeps like the lights on. They need bigger vehicles. So we
You're just
enlisted.
talking like packages. You're talking about like just. bigger items like the priority mail stuff, or like
I'm,
delivering
I'm talking about
packages?
Amazon. I'm
Oh,
basically
okay, okay, all right.
let's just get straight to the brass tacks of
I
it.
was getting
It's
to
Amazon.
that.
But anyway, as it has progressed and packages have become, because the thing is no one mails as much as they used to, and the post office doesn't get as much money from like traditional mail, like letters and magazines as they used to. So they have gone into like the package delivering business, like UPS and FedEx and all that stuff. And then Amazon just basically turned it into like a ginormous like undertaking. But because of that, the more common vehicle is a ProMaster, a Dodge ProMaster. It's basically like a Sprinter van. It's pretty much like
I don't
a
even know what the heck a
regular
Sprinter
like,
van is. Like, is that just a like an Astro van, like a regular just
yeah, no, not
van?
an Astro. It's more of like a work, like a plumber's truck, like a
Oh,
plumber
okay,
van.
okay.
You know what I
So
mean?
like when you bring your air conditioner or like
Yes, yes,
okay, okay.
like a worker truck, or a
Okay, okay,
worker van.
that makes a lot of sense.
It's a van, but it's pretty much like a industrial sized version of a van. You know
Is
what I
that the
mean?
kind of van you think that Scott Foley lives in when he's living in a van down by the river?
No, I don't know. I don't know that reference, but
You don't know the
um
man living down by the river? It's Chris Farley doing the dirt kind of thing.
oh yes, yes. And is that the one where he like
It's a
collapses onto a
motivational.
table?
Yeah,
Just get, yeah.
yes, yes. He
He's
falls
like
down.
dancing around funny and he loses his
Yes.
balance and collapses on a table.
Yes, he lives in a van down by the river.
Yes. No, that's more of like a windowless van where they invite unsuspecting children. Anyway, as we progress here, so pro masters usually, like from my experience from the stations I've worked at, pro masters are like the more prominent vehicle, right? And it's just basically like a big van. And like I said, like the six different like sections that we do in the morning, and it's like so consuming and it's so like complex, more complex than what you thought. You thought you'd come in, you grab your stuff, and you just start delivering. No, like, so you'll have DPS. Don't ask me what DPS stands for. I don't know. Digitally processed schematics. I don't know. DPS, it's basically a tray of letters. It's like the letters, the regular mail, the postcards, anything that's basically like a 11 by like 9 or
Really like small stuff.
yeah, all your small stuff. Anything that's like basically what you would think is like a letter or the size of a letter, you get in these like long trays, right? And the route that I, for the most part, am on right now, I have about 350 houses or stops that I need to deliver to, right?
Hmm.
So on like an average day, we're talking about 500 pieces in the DPS. But like yesterday I had about 1,000, which is like a heavy day. When I have a
Yeah.
thousand, that means like, oh crap, like today's gonna suck a little bit more. So DPS is factor number one, right? And then we have flats. Flats is like a very special term for magazines or catalogs. I don't know why we call them flats, because I think it's just
Well,
like
I
a,
mean, catalogs and magazines are generally flat, right? I mean, they're
yeah,
just
thank
like
you, Captain
lots
Obvious.
of
Okay. Yes.
sheets
So
of
let's move on. So we had flats, right? And then we have NLM. I don't know what the N stands for, but the LM stands for loose mail. And that's basically like rando flats. There are a bunch of flats that went through the sorting machine, and they're not like, the thing about flats are typically like catalogs or like magazines, to where they like there's a whole bunch of them. But like if you ship like a catalog envelope, like a 9 by 12, right? That'll probably come to the mailman as a loose mail flat, basically, right? It's like a one-off. So you got that. So they got flats, DPS, loose mail, and then you get packages, right? And it's usually in a giant hamper. They have these hampers that they push around, you know, all around the station, and like each route has its own like
Are those
hamper.
like the cliche laundry hampers you see on like TV and in the hotels
Exactly.
and stuff? Okay.
Yes. Yes. We for a while they were all orange, and we would call them pumpkins, which is funny.
Orange. Okay, that's
Yeah, but they
interesting.
actually changed them because the thing is the hampers are. I'm talking about a tangent. I don't want to go into, but anyway, hampers were like these big orange like trays or hampers or like large bins on wheels. People would be reaching in to try and get something off of the bottom of them, and they would hurt their backs, right?
Oh, doctor said I need
So
a
they
backiotomy.
discontinued a lot of like old like pumpkin hampers, right?
Hmm.
And they replaced them with like these hampers, and they're blue now, or like randomized colors that have like springs and like a trampoline in it, basically. So then that way, when as you take packages out, it lifts and it lifts because there's like springs in it, and it kind of brings packages to the top while you're like picking out of them. It's pretty
It has like
crazy.
hydraulics in there or something?
It's all spring action, baby. It's like a mattress. No, but it's all they're like springs all on like there's like uh six of them, and there's springs attached, and they all have hooks on them, right? And they all hook around the outside, and then the springs go down to like it's like I said, like a trampoline or like a square surface.
Hmm.
And as you're loading packages in, the springs, lose tension, and it goes lower and lower and lower to the bottom. As a carrier, as you remove packages, the like trampoline comes up higher and higher and higher because there's less like weight on the trampoline, so it comes up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a silly system made because too many people were doing like workman's comp because they had a hurt back, and the reason why they gave was because they were reaching in hampers. But anyway, so you got packages, DPS, loose mail, flats, and then another one is spurs, right? And once again, it's another acronym. I don't know what it's actually not spur like the San Antonio type. It's spurs like SPRS. Like it's actually SPR. I don't know what that stands for. And we're always talking about them in the multiple sense, like more than one.
Yeah.
So it's spurs like SPR apostrophe S, right?
Hmm.
And it's funny because um a little background. I used to work as a mail carrier in Reno for a year. And in Reno, they don't call them spurs. Like they all know that that's the technical term, but they call them chunkies, right?
Chunkies.
And the reason why they call it chunkies is because they're basically like small packages, like basically really small packages, like an Amazon envelope. We all have ordered something from Amazon, and it's like earphones, you know, and it's an envelope, and it's a shipped package. It's got like a tracking number on it. If it's got a tracking number, that's considered basically a package. And anything that's like smaller, that's not a box. The general term is like when you're a clerk and you're throwing packages, anything smaller than a shoebox is basically a spur, right? And a spur, for whatever reason, it's not a technical term. And like the way to describe it is obviously it's not like tasteful, but they call them chunkies, right? But I come to Seattle and I started saying chunky chunkies. Where's the chunkies? And they all looked at me like I was, from planet Mars. But they're called spurs, right? And it's like SPR apostrophe S. It's just basically like something that's a small package, but it's obviously bigger than like a regular envelope. There's like some substance to it. There's like an actual item inside, like a trackable, sendable package, but it's smaller than a box.
Yeah.
So that's spurs. And then the last one is something we call a hot case. And so a hot case is basically like you have to check it a couple times before you go out to the street. And the hot case is probably something I'll never bring up again because it's kind of just it's so
It's
like
not actually hot, right? It's
no, it's hot as in they're actually there's a reason why they call it hot is because it's like kind of like an emergency thing. Like they if they want to get something to you and not actually like walk over and hand it to you specifically, they
hmm
put it in the hot case, knowing that you have to check that before you leave for the street, right? And there's actually a scan bar on it, and we have to scan it to show that we checked it before we left. Because if they have something like special, like a certified letter or like something that they need, to get our attention, a lot of times it's like what we call missorts, like things that like went to one route and that one guy's like, this isn't mine, right?
hmm
So what they'll do is instead of try to find and track down the other carrier and it's something that might be important, they just put it in the hot case for that other carrier. And they know that like before I go out to the street, I have to check that hot case. So it's a way to get things to carriers without actually physically walking. And just imagine the amount of like effort and budget to like go and track that carrier down as opposed to like just putting it in a place and knowing that it's kind of like a mailbox.
Yeah,
Anyway,
mailbox for
a
mailman.
mailbox for a mail carrier. Yes. So but those are like the six different things that we have to delegate before we head to the street. So we got to get the trays of DPS, which are just like regular letters. We have to get the flats. We have to get the loose flats, and we have to get the packages and spurs and the check the hot case. It's
And
just
like,
like
how much of your day is spent just doing this before you even hit the road?
it's literally divided 2 hours. It's supposed to be 2 hours. You're supposed to do 2 hours in the office and then 6 hours on the street. That's the way routes are constructed. Routes are supposed to be 6 hour chunks that you're supposed to be able to do. And there's actually, I mean, an insane amount of resources spent of like people like going out and adjusting and making sure that because there's like things that get built, like there's a new apartment building that goes up in the middle of your route. So now, as opposed to 6 hours, it's 6.5 hours. Things need to be adjusted.
hmm
So it's literally 6 hours, and then I have a little thingy here, a little prompt. So anyway, 6 hours. Sorry to interrupt. And then 2 hours for the office, right? So you have to do, and the thing about it is when you have the DPS, it doesn't really matter, and the packages and the spurs, not so much, a little bit, but like the flats, the loose mail, the NLM, I think it's NLM. I know there's a LM in there because I know it's like loose mail, but I don't know if it's uh, N or LMN or N. I don't know. There's something like that. But anyway, like the loose flats, the flats, and the hot case all need to be thrown into what we call a case. And we have a case, and it's literally every single house that we deliver to is like a little like it's like a little sorting space, right? And if you look at like like it's kind of like a cubicle, and inside the cubicle, there's literally like hundreds of like little like separators on like a sorting, like on shelves, right?
hmm
And each little, we call it like, or the technical term is bullet, which is like the little tiny space for each sorting like slot represents one house that we have to deliver. Like I said, mine is about 350. I have 350 houses. So there's a shelf and there's a bunch of separators on that shelf. And if you count all the little slots up, it adds up to 350, right?
hmm
So then what we do is we take like the loose flats, the flats, and anything in the hot case, and some of the spurs if they're small enough, and we put them in these like sorters. And the sorters is dictated by the order of how we deliver our route. So like house 1 to house 350, it's all like pre-designated, like in which order, which house we're going to go to first and all that stuff. So then we organize it all to where like it's all in order. And that DPS is important because that DPS is organized to that exact order that your case is set up as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's all pre-designated like timeline where like you go from like place to place to place, and house 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then like the DPS is set that way. And then what you do is you organize your flats, your loose mail, and your hot case to that in some spurs, and you organize them to that like in these long trays, and then you put them in your truck, and then you take it out to the street, and like see all of this like babble that I'm sure everyone's already turned the show off by now, is even before you get to delivering mail. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like
we're
this is
still like, what was it, like 9:30 in the morning in terms of
yeah,
like your workday so far.
exactly. I come in at 7:30, and like this is like 9:30, and we have to like get all this. And like I said, this is stuff that you don't think of and you don't really know like what's going on before you like start delivering mail. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, I bit off more than I can chew when it comes to that. Um, but at the same time, it makes me appreciate and it makes me understand the value of what the job is as being a postal employee, more importantly, a mail carrier. This beautiful country, whether or not you're one of those people, this
Hey, let's try to keep it neutral here.
yeah. No, I am, but just in general, I think the world needs some kind of postal entity to keep it moving. A lot of people think like, oh well, or I hear a lot of it that like, oh, the post office is dead, no one sends a letter anymore, it's all email. They don't realize like what actually um you know the post office actually does, and what the post office actually like helps drive this country. The ability, and that's the thing about the post office, is that they are the only company that actually visits every single house in this country. You know what I mean? Every single person in this country. I mean, for the most part, I'm sure there's exceptions where people want to be like so off grid that it's whatever.
The folks living in vans down by the river, you know?
Yeah, exactly. But I'm sure they've gotten a letter at least some point in their life. And that's something that you learn to like appreciate and realize as being a postal employee, is that we actually do provide a service. And just as an example, and there's countless others, like we do like nonprofit work for countless companies and like libraries, like we a whole bunch of businesses that wouldn't be able to ship their products like affordably if they didn't use the post office. But like a big prime example recently is like the elections when COVID happened, right? um they moved all to like mail-in ballots, right? I
Are
don't
they
know how
still
much
planning on doing that this year? Or is
they've
that just specifically like a
trust
state by
me, as
state
a
question?
person that gets his back broke every time, uh it's still happening. I don't know if they will or won't, but the thing is what, and from my once again like slender view of what's going on in this world, it's increased like voter participation voter the voter counts.
Participation is fine.
Yeah,
We
the
just
voter
mispronunciate and move on.
yeah, the voter counts have gone up, and they like that idea, I'm sure, of like you know because it's like the simplicity of it, and because of your ability to like be a part of the process. um but just in general, like I said, those are things. Political mail, just the fact that these or that politicians want to get mail out to support their drive or their cause or their platform. you
Oh,
know
I got a ton of that out here, I'll tell you.
yeah, exactly. And it's the, like I said, only service where you know if I called you right now from like a blocked number, right? What are the chances of you answering that phone number or for
N-
that phone call, right?
Negative 100.
Yeah, exactly. We all see the spam likely, scam likely. A lot of times if I just don't even recognize the number, it could be verified. I don't care. Like, you know what I mean? Like I know the people that I want to talk to and they're usually in my contact list.
Yeah, I'm
Uh
pretty sure everybody's like that.
but you check your mail. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't unblock your mail. You know what I mean? Like, you
But
can't,
I mean, Kramer
or you can't
tried it. It
block your
didn't
mail. You can't,
work.
you know, it's going to get into your hand, whether you read it or not. It's still going to get further than a spam call. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
You know, and so the ability to reach everybody, like I said, it makes me realize, being on the other side of it, on the other side of the curtain here, um it makes me realize like how important this job is. It makes me proud of being a mail carrier, but at the same time, like the other, the rub is that it's a very daunting job, and you have to like really want the perks of this job to stick through it, to like last through it, and to like you have to have that pride to do this job. And if you don't have it, then you're going to be either not longed for this job, or you're going to be miserable at this job. You know what I mean?
Well, we're running out of time here, so we will find out more about what happens during the next 6 hours of the typical postal day
Yes.
and the next
and
episode of Walk Like a Mailman.
and I want to say that this was brought to you by Calluses. We don't actually have any official sponsors, but Calluses are the sponsor for today's segment. I have plenty of them. And yeah, so it was nice chatting with you.
See you next time.